Welcome to Talking Halos. Derek Ciapola with my co-host, my partners in crime, my fearsome foursome, the hair club for men, according to our early conversation that you were not a part of, thank God. And of course, Nate, of all people, decides to cover that head so no one could talk about his.
Yes.
We get Jared Timms. So Jared, Brock Davis. I haven't talked to this guy since he had a full head of hair. Now look at him. And here we have Nate Green. He dares not show his hair.
Smart man.
Yes. Hair Club for Men episode of Talking Halos. It's pretty much our first time back in a while. Like the whole crew has either been busy or, in Jared's case, in my case, sick as dogs. We're back. You can probably still hear a little bit of my voice, and he doesn't talk much as it is, so you never know what you're going to get with this one. It's kind of like a Forrest Gump thing we're calling. So, guys, real quick, 1 minute. I'm going to go start with Nate. What is your 1 minute take thus far on what you've seen from spring training? Nate, go.
Oh boy. You're not gonna like my take because I don't really care too much. I'm just glad that baseball's back, and let's get to the regular season and we'll get from there. I really don't care about spring training. As long as guys are healthy, it doesn't matter to me.
Negative Nate appears.
It's true.
It didn't take long. All right, Brock, give us some positive news. Just don't worry about being too positive. We don't expect rainbows and unicorns here, but something.
Yeah. I'm not as not caring about spring training as Nate, but I'm somewhat in the same boat. But watching the games, I'm really excited to see a full season of Renfroe. Hopefully, I'm excited for him. I really am excited about the depth, seeing all these types of lineups that we've had. I saw Jared tweet about it the other night. I'm just really excited to see how they go about all this depth, where they're shifting people. If they're gonna, were we gonna see Walsh in the outfield a lot? Are we gonna, if any of them get hurt, which pray to God they don't, but if they were, I think there's a lot of options we have that we haven't had in the last couple of years. Solid depth, I think, not like Dodger type depth, but a lot better depth than we've had previously. So I'm excited to see how that rolls out, and it's prevailing itself during spring training, just seeing the types of lineups and differences that we can have. So it's exciting. Cool. It's good.
Jared?
You get my minor league answer here. I love seeing the minor leaguers out there. Saw Jorge Ruiz get a hit today. Fun name to keep an eye on there. But somewhere in the middle of negative and completely optimistic. I like spring training. It's a lot of fun. I'll be there. Let's see, 24th, week of the 24th, I'll be out there. Gonna have an absolute blast. But yeah, it's just good to have baseball back, to be honest, in Heinz, and with everything going on, and good to see minor leaguers. Like I said, me being the minor league guy, I love seeing all the minor leaguers get an opportunity, get their name out there. Seeing a lot of Bryce Teodosio, and of course Mike Trout. That's always fun to see. And then we got some real baseball coming up here shortly in the World Baseball Classic, which I'm sure we'll be talking a whole bunch about here in the coming week or so. So I'm just excited that we got baseball.
Is it weird that I don't care about the WBC at all?
It is.
I just
stacked. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. I used to love it in
America.
Have you been to a WBC game? Is the question.
Well, no, I'm freaking in Ohio.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if you
can I go see a WBC game in Ohio?
I wasn't sure.
There hasn't been too many.
Last time you got to do anything in Ohio.
I'm going. I do fun things here. We hunt and stuff. No, what we act like we're in the middle of Azerbaijan or something. No, dude, we got stuff to do here. It's just that baseball in February and March is not going to happen, and if it does, you're playing on a frozen field. Matter of fact, at Cleveland Stadium, Brown Stadium, on Saturday night, they played hockey outside. The AHL Monsters played outside. That was yesterday. You're not doing baseball up here. So, unfortunately, I have to watch it from home on my couch eating Cheetos.
I definitely have less to do where I am from than where you are from. I'm like in the worst spot in California to do anything. The high desert of California.
You're like a 2-hour drive away.
I'm just saying, hypothetically, centrally, hypothetically.
I'm not giving you that. Derek, on the other hand, Derek, I'm here with you as well. It snowed today for us. And it's very cold out, and I'm just hoping we get high school baseball here in a hot second. I think high school baseball is right around the corner for us here in Idaho. So I'm with you on that. Brock, I know where you live. not in that freaky weird way, but I know kind of where you live.
Relax.
And you're like a 30-minute drive from Rancho Cucamonga with no traffic. And
No, I don't live in Oak
there.
Hills anymore. I live in Apple Valley now, which is an hour drive from Rancho Cucamonga.
If Taylor Blake Ward listens to this and he's you guys are, I know
I'm keeping my mouth shut on this one.
Yeah, I'm not giving you that. You might be snowed in a little bit right now up there.
I got Scandia, bro.
I can't believe the audacity he had to give me a hard time about things to do when he's talking about he's up in the freaking high desert.
Yeah, I know.
Like, I'm an hour.
I
I can go
retracted.
see quite a bit of stuff from here.
Yeah, no, I can't.
I mean, so
Really, the
I don't
closest
know
thing I
what
have
you're
would be the Quakes, like Jared said, and that's an hour from me.
Yeah, you got
2 hours the Halo Stadium for sure.
saying. It's worth the drive. For really quick for me, it's been a while since it's been on, so we haven't been talking about. But our fantasy leagues are set up. So with baseball being back, our drafts are coming in about 3 weeks. I think we have two leagues that we set up for. Was it 2 or 3 for the actual? Then there's one for the staff, plus we add a couple people in. So
I'm
if
just
by
trying-
chance,
Just trying
I
to figure
miss
out how
anybody-
many I'm winning. So
yeah.
Okay,
we'll
get
see.
out of here. I couldn't find what place I finished in last year.
Anywho, if we do happen to have more who want to play, y'all need to let me know because and if I miss anybody, I'm sorry. It's been a rough month. So let us know like pronto so we can get a league going and started and everything up for you. So at talkinghalos@gmail.com or get a hold of us on Twitter and we'll make it happen. Again, I apologize if I missed anybody. And I probably did because Lord knows I'm human.
Finished
Anyways,
third.
we got to move. We got to move quickly here. One of the topics that I don't know why Jared wanted to do this. I mean, it's going to bring about instant hatred. Is the pitch clock? What was it? The average as of yesterday was it 2 hour 37-minute games at this point in spring training?
something very close to that. Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, so I guess I'll start with Jared since he wanted to talk about the pitch clock. What are your initial thoughts?
I like it a lot more in the regular season. Right now, people are, it's like any breaking news event. It's all out there. People are complaining about it. Just because MLB is very tight on it right now. I mean, Brendan Davis, former Angels prospect, even tweeted it today. He was like, "I've never been called for a pitch clock violation," and then now he's been called today. He got called twice today for it. So in general, I like it. I think it's going to make everything go quicker, a lot fast, a lot better. I'm not a fan of quick games. I think that baseball shouldn't be ever a timed game by any means. But I think it's going to help pitchers out at the end of the day, just because that's how I pitched. Is get on the bump and throw. I get one sign, I'm going to hit my spot. I'm not up there thinking, shaking, doing all this stuff. I threw in an extra leg kick every once in a while, but I was, get on the bump and throw. And I think it's going to help the Angels in particular out because, I mean, Nate, you and I talk about this all the time. You see,
Sandy
Shohei
needs it bad.
Ohtani is one of the slowest pitchers. Granted, I mean, he was one of the best pitchers in baseball last year, but he's one of the
Sandy
slowest
needs
pitchers.
it bad.
Patrick Sandoval gets up there, he gives up a walk, and everything slows down. Suarez is kind of that same way. So I think it's just good for the Angels. We've talked about tempo. We've talked about, that body language on the mound. And the Angels, the Angels just need it really bad. So I'm excited to see where it takes the Angels. I know fans in general aren't happy about it right now. But after watching the minor leagues, it's going to become non-apparent very, very quickly. Unless, of course, something stupid happens in the 9th inning and a game gets called because of it, just like it happened in the first week of spring training. So then that's when all hell's going to break loose. So that's my thought on it. I know I gave a lot there.
That's not a question of if that happens. It's going to happen. And it's
I've
going to
never seen it
happen.
happen.
sooner
never
I've
rather
never
than
seen it
happened
happen in the
in the minor leagues.
minors. Right
It
now
will.
they're being very, very, they're uptight about it so that when the regular season happens, it's a lot looser because they're going to loosen it up. The pitch clock's been around for a while. I mean, it's been in stadiums for forever. And I don't know if anybody else, I watch it in between almost every inning and it goes and goes and it gets to 0 and they throw their last pitch and then they go, it's more of a metric for when the commercial break's going to be back, like the red light in hockey. But yeah, it's going to become very, it's going to speed the game up, but during the season, it's going to definitely relax. And I think people are freaking out for no reason, from my opinion. I mean, I saw it in the minors too, and it was nothing too crazy. So people are
Rock,
going
what are your thoughts?
I like it personally. I do. The thing that Jared just said at the end kind of threw me for a loop, and I'll explain why after I say what I was originally going to say. So I like it. I think that it still keeps the integrity of the game, and the reason I say it keeps the integrity of the game is because for like football, for example, which I love football. I just started watching football heavily this last year. You can let the clock run out, right? But hypothetically, in this situation, you can't let the clock run out. You still got to throw to the guy. If you don't, you're gonna walk him, or you're gonna get a ball against you. So it doesn't necessarily decide the game unless you're the person that decides to not follow it. And I think after a while, they're just going to get used to doing it that way, and it will just keep the pace of play. Hopefully, I've never had an issue with staying engaged with the game, but I know sometimes it's like, oh my God, they're taking forever. And then it's a step off, and then they take forever. And then it's like, oh, get on my phone. And the next thing you know, it's the next hitter. Sometimes, not with Angels games, but with other games. So I like it. I think they'll get used to it. But what's throwing me for a loop is that you're saying that they're going to lessen up on it. So does that mean that if it runs out, like it's an umpire judgment of whether to call it? What does that mean, loosening like up? They're not
They're starting the clock really early on purpose so that guys get in the box and go.
Gotcha.
And if
so it's the people starting the clock, not necessarily the judgment call. I see.
Yeah, it's not like in the NFL when the time clock runs out and the backfield judge looks up and like can give it a half second, 2 seconds, or something, however many seconds it is in football, and then they throw the flag. It's not going to be like that. They're going to still call it, but yeah, they're starting the clocks at weird times right now in minor league stadiums. So that's what all the fuss is about. Just to again be proactive with it, and said I don't mind it. People have to get used to it. So
I mean, does anybody have the numbers pulled up or know what they are? What the average game of the 2022 regular season was last year?
It was
over 3 hours.
I know.
3 hours by
was
far.
It three?
It was like 3. I thought it was 3:05.
3:02, something like that. And then so far
it's like 3:05.
I mean, baseball games have always been really long. Football games are only, in my opinion, televised as long as baseball games because of all the breaks that you have in football. But baseball itself doesn't need to be that long of a game. I think you could keep the integrity of the game and still be able to achieve that 2.5 to 3 hour range. And I think that I don't think it's going to bother me at all. I think it's not going to, we're not even going to think about it. Like Jared said, halfway through the year, it's going to be like, oh, cool. Like watch a game in 2.5 hours and you didn't feel rushed. I think it's just going to keep its kind of a natural flow, and we're just going to get used to it after a while.
It'll matter in big situations. Like that's when it's going to become very apparent and people are going to freak out in that situation. And players are going to have to adapt because this is.
Oh yeah, that's on them. That ain't on. Hey, this is that's why Manfred did it, right? Like he did it for the entertainment purposes. As an athlete, I could only imagine. I'm just speaking from my perspective, but as an athlete, it's like that was your time to kind of take a deep breath. When you're going up to the plate and you're facing Trout in the championship series, and you're like, damn, and you got every pitch. It's just bam, 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 bam. Oh, it's going to be a big change for them for sure. And we'll see how they adjust to it. It could be a nightmare for them. Some people will adjust better than others, like Scherzer and whatnot, but it's just going to be, we'll find out.
Last thing there, you bring up a good point. I mean, Ben Joyce buzzed the tower his first pitch of the game at 99, and you got to get back in the box and be ready 7 seconds later or whatever it is, 8-10 seconds later. That's 12 seconds later. That's a tough thing to do, is to get back in the box after you just got 99 up by the chin or 103 up by the chin, whatever he's throwing out there. That's tough. That's when you want an extra second, to relax and everything like that. So
I think that'll be the integrity of the game that gets affected, is on a player standpoint of having that, we were all raised kind of like, hey, take a step out, take a deep breath, think about what you want to do. Like that's gone. That's gone now.
I mean, that's going to help pitchers for sure.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I think hitters are going to be a lot more affected than pitchers, in my opinion, but we'll see.
I think it helps the pace of pitchers.
So I'm going to say yes and no. It helps the pitchers. My biggest thing is when things go badly, everything spirals for a pitcher. So if he goes ball 1, ball 2, ball 3, ball 4, is going to continue to spiral because he is not going to get that time to step off and reset himself. So there could be some times where if a dude is in, like, if he's not throwing strikes, it could just absolutely kill his whole outing. But if a dude is dialed and it's just strike one, strike two, ground out, strike one, strike two, ground out, like, it's going to be really tough to get him out of that rhythm. And that's a big part of the game, is how do you disrupt timing and how do you disrupt rhythm? And that's going to be the hardest thing. For me, coming from the sports psychologist standpoint, it's going to be very, very hard for some of these guys, because you talk about it. When things go badly, the goal is to get back into that, like, relaxed state. And it takes time to get back into that relaxed state. You need to take a deep breath. You need to find your focal point, all these things. And it's going to be hard to do that in your amount of time. So those are the only issues that I have with the clock. Like Jared said, it's sped up right now to try and make sure these guys really get through stuff. But I don't think it's going to be as big of an issue once we get into the season. It's going to be more of just this thing, kind of like the taunting rule in the NFL during preseason, where everyone was like, oh my gosh, this taunting thing is going to be a nightmare. They're going to call taunting every other play. They probably called it 5 times the whole year.
No, I would do profoundly, as a guy who covers the NFL, the taunting rule is a major problem still.
But in preseason, they talked about, like, it was going to be called all the time, and it wasn't.
But it is called all
much.
the time, and it's usually called the worst times. It's this is the case going back and forth about officials going out there and putting themselves into a game. Like, we complain the umpires doing this. NFL officials even worse about it. And we've seen it on pass interference calls, we've seen it on holding calls, and we've really seen it on taunting calls or roughing calls. Those are the 4 areas you usually see them more. And I don't think it's really a fair comparison in that respect, because in the end, with what they're doing now, it's not as subjective. You have a clock that counts down. It started, it's gone. With a taunting call, it is a person's opinion about whether or not you're taunting or not, about whether you did this or did that. A pitching clock is just a clock. It counts down to 0.
But it's when they're starting the clock is what I'm talking about, not like.
But even then, they can see when that clock has started. They know when it stopped and when it's going. It's still something that's tangible.
They are not starting it when they started it in the minor leagues, is all I'm saying.
I'm just saying they're not the same. But I will say this, though. I think that if we're talking about the integrity of the game, I mean, I want to ask this question. We saw the Red Sox do that weird outfield shift the other day.
Yep. Which Jared and I talked about earlier. We said that was going to happen. And we didn't know how long it was going to take, but we did say it was going to happen.
So kudos to you two. If I don't know about you, but if there's something that's about the integrity of the game, I still say it's the shift. I don't think it's the pitch clock at all. Okay,
I don't have a problem with the shift. If you have a problem with the shift, learn how to hit the ball the other way. That Jeff McNeil was one of the most shifted guys in the MLB. He started going the other way, started hitting where guys weren't. Now everyone had to play him straight up. Now he can pull balls. Now he can go the other way. Like, if you care that much about a guy playing in short right field against you, shorten up, hit a ball left field a couple times.
That's the coaching side of it coming in there too.
Go ahead, do it.
I think so. I mean, this is exactly. I mean, I've said this a bunch. Like, there's something that is going to need to replace the shift in people's minds right now, so that it's not a big deal. I can guarantee you that if you look at the stats, it's probably a big deal in spring training, but everybody's focused on the pitch clock right now because that everybody's complaining and bitching about that. So Derek, I mean, you're right. I think we've even talked about it. We've all probably talked about this. Like, that's going to be the bigger thing than the pitch clock is going to be the no shifting. I think that adds on a lot more to the game, more to the integrity than this pitch clock thing. Like I said, I think the pitch clock thing settles down, and I think we start like mid-season, like we're probably probably like 2 months in, we start talking more and more about the shift, and like there's going to be some articles coming out, there's going to be some studies coming out, and like, oh, Kyle Seager's average went up by 40 points. There are how many more singles? There's the runs are up dramatically. I think that's where it's gonna kind of lie, and I think a lot of people aren't talking about that right now, and I think MLB has set it up fantastically for that. So, Brock, are you raising your hand?
Yeah,
go ahead.
What would happen if football. I've never done that before. I saw it and I'm like, oh, I was gonna do it in person. I wanted to say it before I forgot.
I was coming to you next
The
anyway.
shift is the equivalent, in my opinion, of not allowing man double coverage in football.
I mean, if you're gonna compare something, like I would guess you can kind of agree. Like you can only have so many guys on a certain side of the field. Like you can't double team or something like that. If you're gonna compare,
this is the way, because obviously there's no man coverage, there's no zone coverage, right? Like baseball is its own entity. You have people in certain areas to protect certain areas of the field, service area, more or less.
it's like when you're playing kids basketball and you're up by 20 points and you can't press anymore. Like that's
100%. Or you have to make a certain amount of passes before you could shoot the ball. Like I agree with Nate. Like if you're a Major League Baseball player, like, and you're going to be shifted on, you got to adapt. It's like nothing. It's just like any other thing you could think of, in a way of like, oh, well, they're going to keep throwing me fastballs because I can't hit fastballs. We'll learn how to hit a fastball. They're going to keep throwing you off speed, or vice versa. Yeah. You have to, they're going to play to your weaknesses. And this is the same as anything else. It's like, they would imagine the fits that fans would throw if they said, hey, you know what? There's never going to be double coverage on Justin Jefferson anymore because NFL banned it. They're like, well, that's how we defended against him. He's that good. Well, if Joey Gallo is literally going to hit on the right side of the field 99% of the time, that's how you defend Joey Gallo. You put people on the right side of the field. So to Nate's saying,
and you're probably not going to get it all the time. There's probably only a couple of guys. It's going to be more of like when Big Papi was playing, where it was like there are like 2 or 3 guys that really are getting shifted on. It's not going to be able to work for everyone, because there are guys who can go the other way. They just choose not to. Joey Gallo, I don't know if he can actually go the other way.
We're going to find out real quick, aren't we?
100%.
He has not done it in I don't know how long of being a major leaguer. So why start now?
Why? All right, hey, we have to go, but I do want to make one last point involving all this. There's one other area impacted by this shift thing. Fantasy baseball, especially if you're in a points league that's hitter friendly. I'm in one of those leagues that the numbers are skewed towards hitters already. Just did my draft. I just went all hitting. Said screw the pitching. Waited until the end. Got a bunch of crap pitchers. Why? Because we're going to see what you mentioned, higher averages from guys you didn't expect. We're going to see all kinds of things we didn't see before last year. We're going to see more offense, and that's what they really wanted. So kind of mad they took the strategy from the game. A little bit of it.
Where's the line that the outfielder can't go past?
Outfielders can move out as much as they want. It's the infielders that can't move. You have to be on the dirt. You have to be on the dirt all the time, and you can't be on the other side of second base. So if you're a shortstop, you can't be on the second baseman side. If you're a second baseman, you can't be on the shortstop.
But can the outfielder come into the dirt?
They just put the outfielder where the old second baseman used to play on the grass.
And then they just had center and right.
You can bring in a left fielder.
Yeah, the center fielder moved to short right, the left fielder moved to center, and the right fielder stayed in right.
Wow, that's trippy, dude. Yeah, I saw a very short clip of that, but I didn't really pay attention to it. But yeah, that's interesting.
Something else. All right, folks. That in mind, we'll be back. It's spring training. We're actually going to start talking about stuff. Oh my gosh, we're actually here. We're less than a month away from the regular season starting. Follow us on Twitter at Talking Halos. Follow Jared at JR_Tims. Follow Nate Green 34. I don't know what Brock is these days, so screw that guy. And I'm DC Ciapola on Twitter. We're out here. Have a great one.